Good evening. I'm calling this meeting of the Barrington Town. And I'll ask that we rise for the pledge. And I'll ask that you remain standing for a moment of silence. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could remain standing, I'd ask that we have a moment of silence first for the 20th anniversary of 9/11, which affected all of us in so many different ways. And also for the death of Sergeant Gino Caputo. Sergeant Caputo was a member of the Barrington Police Department for 27 years. The Barrington Police Department has lost one of its brothers, and the community of Barrington has lost one of her sons. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I now ask our town manager, Jim Cunha, to take us through the announcements.
Thank you, Mr. President. The library through the fall will be offering outdoor story times. They're also beginning to offer in-person classes on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. For more information and to register, go to the library's website at www.barringtonlibrary.org. If you notice coming in tonight, if you take a look at our flagpole for the month of September, flying below our national ensign is the Here to Serve flag flying that's honoring our Barrington Police and Barrington Fire Departments. An update on the East Bay Bike Path. We're completing construction, or DOT is completing construction of we have details out there protecting the children crossing County Road every day. We have to remain flexible as they continue to work through this, and we'll keep our town posted. For tree removal, it's calendar year, we've removed 83 trees and we've planted 93 trees. And finally, for those that may be interested, Gina Caputo's funeral arrangements, visiting hours will be Wednesday from 4 to 7 at the Nardillo Funeral Home in Cranston. The funeral will be at the Holy Ghost Church on Knight Street in Providence, Thursday at 11 a.m. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Excuse me. We're taking something out of order today, one of our resolutions. One of the things that I think is especially important in this month that we are celebrating our first responders with the flag is to remember just how much they do for us. The death of Gino Caputo sort of brings that out for us. But we also are frequently fortunate to hear about the work that they do, whether it's working with a disabled child and protecting them, or in this case, saving a life. So I would ask if anyone has any changes or anything to this resolution that is in front of us. And if there are none, then I will ask that we move it and have the officers come forward.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'd ask that Officers Michael Green and Officer Robbins please come forward. If you can just stand over where that empty microphone is. I'll just read this resolution. This is a resolution of the Barrington Town Council honoring Assistant Harbor Patrol Officers Michael Green and Steve Robbins. Whereas on June 20th, Harbor Patrol 2, commanded by Assistant Harbor Patrol Officers Michael Green and Steve Robbins, were working the scheduled tour of duty when they were dispatched to Connecticut Point for a water rescue. And whereas Barrington Police Fire Dispatcher also received the following ominous information. 11-year-old Carly wearing a blue top and yellow bottom was drowning. And whereas Assistant Harbor Patrol Officers Green and Robbins were the first on the scene and immediately responded to the area of Connecticut Lighthouse located in Upper Narragansett Bay, followed shortly by Warwick Marine 4, Warwick Marine 2, Warwick Marine 6, Providence Fire Marine, Cranston Fire Marine 2, East Greenwich Fire Marine, Warren Fire Marine, Bristol Marine 7, and 2 Coast Guard vessels and DEM vessels, which indicated the dire circumstances. And whereas Harbor Patrol Officers Green and Robbins were alerted by bystanders on shore of a swimmer in distress and quickly began a search and were able to locate and save an unidentified male who entered the water in an attempt to render aid to 11-year-old Yascarly Martinez and Good Samaritan Valentin Sanchez, who unfortunately lost their lives. Now, therefore, be it resolved, had not for the quick response of Green and 3 people would have died that day. Their life-saving actions and selflessness reflect the dedication to duty. Knowing that every second mattered and loss of life was at stake, they swiftly responded to the area and performed with valor. Their actions on that day are highly commendable. And now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Honorable Town Council for the Town of Barrington, State of Rhode Island, by virtue of the authority vested in them by the citizens of Barrington, on their behalf, extend to the officers the gratitude of the Barrington community for their individual and collective efforts adopted by Barrington Town Council this day, the 13th day of September 2021. The next items on our agenda are what we call the consent agenda. We will discuss and act on them as a group. These are a group that are usually considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There won't be a separate discussion on these items unless a town council member or citizen so requests, and the request is for good cause, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Does anyone from the council have anything they'd like to remove from the consent agenda? Councillor Breyer.
Yes, I'd like to remove resignations. I'm sorry, I'd like to remove reappointments. And I had a comment on resignations that I'd like to mention.
Sure.
At last week's Senior Services Advisory Board meeting, 2 members announced that they'd be resigning. I don't know if they've formally submitted anything to the town clerk's office yet. They have not, but that's just something for us to keep in mind a little later in the agenda when we're interviewing for that position.
Okay. Anything else on the agenda you'd like to remove? Anyone else on the council?
Mr. President, could I request that you remove item 13, the Class F license? That application has been withdrawn.
Sure. Does anyone from the audience want to remove any item from the agenda? Okay. Seeing none. With the exceptions of items 6 and 13, do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Now we'll go to item 6, and this is reappointments. Councilor Breyer?
I'll be abstaining.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve reappointments to boards and commissions as set forth in item 6?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions?
Aye.
1 abstention. That motion carries. Item 13 is a Class F license. We've learned, I think it was today or over the weekend, that St. Luke's Knights of Columbus are not going to seek a Class F license. Is that right? So we don't need to move that for passage. Next item on our agenda is to discuss and act on interviews and appointments. We've already begun interviews for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We have 7
President?
vacancies remaining.
The solicitor and I both think that you did not vote on the consent agenda as a whole.
Oh, we did not?
Did they? Okay, we didn't think
Thought we
you did.
did.
I apologize.
Unanimous.
Yeah, we did. So for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, we interviewed several people on July 26th, and we appointed a number, but we have not completed the appointments and interviews. And in the interim, one of our appointments has withdrawn for health reasons. So we will now move on to the remaining interviews and appoint the remaining members. And then we will then appoint a chair and a vice chair of this. So the first person to be interviewed is, we've already interviewed them, is Candace Bayer. Oh, she's withdrawn, I see. Jennifer Castell, please.
Do I sit here?
Please, yes, please tell us a little about yourself and what you hope to bring to the DEI committee.
Is the okay?
That's-
What I hope to bring to the committee. I guess what I hope to bring first to the committee is my passion. And I feel like in everything I do in my job as a librarian at a local university, as an educator in the classroom, as a parent, as a friend, as a member of the community, I always strive for going beyond just this feeling of inclusion that everybody talks about to like true belonging. And the reason why I'm going for this, to be a part of this committee, is that I want to be a part of town where people come here and regardless of who they are, but especially if they're from, traditionally marginalized communities, that they feel like not only are they welcomed, but that they belong here, which is so different from just feeling welcomed. And I could talk about that forever, but I am, as I said, I'm a librarian at a university in Providence, and so much of what being a librarian is a focus on equity. It's not just helping people find books, but that's a part of it. It's also making sure that everybody who walks into the building and who we come across feels like they have been given the same service and access that everybody else has. That again, that they feel that they belong. Um, and I also am an educator, and in the classroom, I've worked tirelessly to focus on making sure every student feels like their voice is heard. I am on the DEI committee at the university, along with administrators, other faculty and staff, and we've book clubs, of course. As a librarian, I am part of that, but and other ways to try to bring equity, inclusion, and a sense of belonging to the community there. So I also want to bring that to the place where I live, where I raise my children, where I have friends and roots. Do you need more specifics or?
No, I
Okay.
think you, unless anyone has any questions. So thank you for your willingness to serve. We're going to hear from the other folks, and then we will make our
Okay.
selections.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candace Charpentier, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Charpentier. Please tell us a little about yourself and what you hope to bring to DEI committee.
Well, I'm a 9-year resident of Barrington. Anyone who's seen me before, especially when we were doing the the board for the DEI commission. You know that I was reluctant to come here because of the reputation that Barrington has outside of this community of being racist and not very welcoming, which unfortunately, incidents have happened even in the past couple of years, and very public incidents to kind of reinforce that. What I want to do is be a part of making Barrington a place where, like Jenny said, where they belong, where they feel comfortable. Any family moving here from anywhere, any social and economic status, and of any kind of ability, physical, mental, age, they should all know that they're welcome here. If you're putting down your money to buy a home here and send your children to school here, you should know that you have a place here. I would like to proudly say that I'm on the DEI school committee, and what we've done in the school systems, what Gina Bay has done, the books my children are reading, reading and the conversations that they're having. I am so proud that, recently when I met another Black woman who talked about looking at Barrington as a place to live, and she was told, hey, it's racist, you may not want to go there. I was able to counter that with, hey, this is what they're doing in schools. My kids are reading Kwame Alexander. This is amazing work. So, I always say, at least we're trying, and I'm really proud of that. So instead of like the shame that I kind of had earlier on, I have a sense of pride that we're moving towards something that, other communities aren't doing. They can, they give the lip service, but nobody's doing half of what we're doing. The film festival that happened over the summer, and again, what we're doing in the schools. So that's why I'd like to serve.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Andrew Simon, please. Good evening. If you could tell us a little about yourself and what you hope to bring.
Sure. My name's Andrew Simon. I've been in Barrington for 11 years. What brought me here was my job. I serve as pastor at St. James Lutheran Church here in town. Served in my time here with the Barrington Interfaith Clergy. I was the chair of that group for a while. Worked with Andy Klein from Temple Habonim along with Trinky Bruckner on the book series, conversation series. St. James co-sponsors the Black Lives Matter vigils with Trinky and the Barrington Interfaith Partners. We co-sponsored the Ibram X. Kendi event. I think in my role as a clergy person, probably the most important thing I do is listen to other people and listen to their stories. And I think that this is what a lot of the DEI work has to do, where it starts is in listening, across the board. I spoke to a buddy of mine when we were picking up the kids from school this afternoon and talking about what we were doing tonight, and I mentioned this, and he kind of rolled his eyes like, what could possibly come out of that in a town like Barrington? And I think that's, to me, sort of the heart of this question and this conversation is that at its root, dealing with issues of diversity and equity and inclusion, deals with the sort of implicit assumptions that we make, and I took part in Adam Mastoon's workshops, and that started with a conversation around bias. And we all have these implicit biases. And I think the conversation I had this afternoon was a really, really good illustration of that, of sort of saying, well, we know what this town is and what it's made up of, and why bother? And I sort of challenged him on that. And I said, well, this is kind of the reason we need to do this. And, one of the other stories I shared with him was, and I had a hard time hearing the person who went before me, but I think maybe she touched on some of the similar things. I think I've been really impressed with, I have two children. My younger son's in third grade, and I've been really impressed over the years coming home how excited he's been to tell me all about the different traditions and things that he's learning at school. And it's not just, well, it's Martin Luther King Day, so let's read a little book about Martin Luther King. He's coming home and he has real substance and real enthusiasm when he talks about, well, we don't celebrate this, but my classmate celebrates this, and this is what they do, and isn't this really interesting? And this is why they do it, and he really lights up. And I think that if we're able to facilitate conversations that are rooted in listening and seeking to understand one another, I think we'll uncover some of that same passion as a community. And I think also there's the opportunity to do some of that work for those whose bias says that Barrington is what it is, and this has always been this way, and this is what it's always going to be. I think that's, to me, a real strong reason why we need to have a further, deeper conversation. And I think I bring skills and a background of involvement in the issues around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I appreciate you considering it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a bunch.
Questions? Thank you, Pastor. Next person is, Jack Van Leer withdrew. So we have interviewed all of the folks who have applied, and we have been very fortunate in the folks who are volunteering for this. I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say we're really grateful for your willingness to do so. This is going to be an important committee. I think we really, as a town, this is really need to face. It's one of the key issues for us. And this, along with some other things that we're doing, this is not the solution. It's the beginning of finding solutions. So I would like to, of the people who we have interviewed, I would like to nominate Candace Charpentier as a member of the DEI committee.
Second.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you. I should note we have 6 more nominees. 4 more will be full members, and then 2 will be alternates. Do I have that right?
That's correct. You also need to decide who's going to have a 3-year term, who's going to have a 2, and who's going to have a 1. And last meeting, you decided that the 2 alternates would have a 2-year term.
Okay,
So as you get to the alternates, they're automatically a 2, but then you're going to have to divvy up the rest of the terms, term lengths.
okay. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
I'd like to make
Vice President.
like to make a nomination. I nominate Andrew Simon as a member of the DEI committee. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And no abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you.
I would like to nominate Wafa Frage.
Is there a second? Okay, there being no second, the motion does not carry. Yes, please.
I would like to nominate Jennifer Castell to be a member of the DEI committee.
Okay. I'll second that. Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
I would like to make a nomination as well. I'd like to nominate A. Larry Barron to the DEI committee.
A. Larry Barron. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I would like to nominate Rebecca Taub for the DEI committee. We interviewed her last time.
I will second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And no abstentions, the motion carries. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have the 2 more. Please, go ahead, Vice President.
I'd like to nominate Tanya Maselli, the DEI committee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Do we have one more?
We do have one more. I'd like to nominate David Meal.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. So we have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. So we have selected all of the members of the DEI committee. Those include the ones who were selected last time, which are Stephen Felix, Liana Morris, and Braxton Medlin and Glenmore Wagner. So, first things first, I'd like to nominate Braxton Medlin as president of the DEI committee, or as chair, excuse me, of the DEI.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay.
Well, I'd like to nominate Liana Maris as the vice chair of the DEI committee.
I would second that. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, so now we have to decide 3 years, 2 years, and 1 year. I would just suggest that the alternates, the last two people we nominated were Tanya Maselli and David Neal. And I would just suggest that they be the alternates with a 2-year term. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. So Tanya Maselli and David Neal are our alternates with 2-year terms. Just to, so that we can explain what an alternate is. Alternates fully participate in all discussions. In the event that there is not a quorum, the alternates may vote in that circumstance. And typically, although not necessarily, typically, when someone leaves the committee, we usually sort of promote the alternate to full member. I suppose we should say that I'll make a motion that Tanya Maselli is the first alternate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That would make David Neal the second alternate.
Can I just clarify understanding of the alternates?
Sure.
It's, you had said if there isn't a quorum, but it's if all voting members aren't present, right? So if it's a committee of 7 and 6 are there, an alternate would vote.
That's correct. That's right. You're right. So it's actually, in this case, it's a committee of 9. So if let's say 7 show up, then the 2 alternates would be eligible to vote. So that's right. I appreciate that. I misspoke.
President Carroll, I have a
Yes.
point of clarification as well. Did we previously say the chair and vice chair would both have the 2 of the 3-year terms?
If not, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. So
So how many 3-year terms do we have remaining then?
Mary, how many 3-year terms do we have? We have 11 people. 4 3-year terms?
Your terms.
Okay.
4 3-year terms.
So that means let's see, and the people nominated last time are Stephen Felix and Glenmore Wagner. I would make a motion that Stephen Felix, Glenmore Wagner, Liana Maris, and Braxton Medlin each have 4-year terms, 3-year terms.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I would like to make a motion that Candace Charpentier have a 3-year term to the DEI committee. I know that's splitting hairs but individually, I believe that Candace, with her experience with the DEI committee on the school committee, has great experience to lend, and I would hope that she would stay on for a significant time.
Despite voting aye on that last measure, I agree with you, and I would second that motion.
Okay, so we've already had a vote. We can always, Amy, we can always just have a vote to overrule our previous vote.
Could we vote to change one of the 2-year terms to a 3-year term?
I'm not sure what that does to the staggered terms piece. Usually we try to set it up so there are staggered terms, so we're not doing 11 at once as we did in the
Right.
first time.
But this would just be a change of one, so it's either 6 and 5 or 5 and 6.
No, it'd be 6 and 3 and 2. So, yeah, 6 and 3 and 2 if we did it that way.
We
Because
have 1-year term.
1-year term for 2, 2-year terms for some, and 3-year terms for others.
I forgot about the 1-year terms.
Okay, so I'll take that as a motion
Yeah,
to,
motion to change one of the 2-year terms to a 3-year term.
Second.
okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And now, do I hear a motion to appoint Stephen Felix, Liana Maris, Braxton Medlin, Glenmore Wagner, and Candace Charpentier to 3-year terms?
Second. Oh, motion
So
made.
moved.
Yeah. So moved, sorry.
Second. Uh-huh.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Yes. Vice President Hom.
I move to appoint Andrew Simon to one of the 2-year terms that's available.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
And with the alternates being 2-year terms, that
We've already,
just the 1-year terms remaining.
yes, that's right. And so by default, Mary, the remaining members are for 1-year terms.
So your alternates are,
I believe that is Jennifer Castell, A. Larry Barron, Rebecca Taub. do you have that? Okay. Okay, well, that concludes our appointments for the DEI committee. Thank you all so much for your willingness to serve. It's a bigger sized committee, and it's got important issues to address. So thank you, everyone. Next item on our agenda is the Economic Development Commission. We have 4 vacancies. One of our interviewees was not able, I'm forgetting which one was unable to make it tonight. Mary, do you recall?
It's Kevin Mannering.
Mr. President,
Kevin Mannering, okay.
President Carroll,
Yes,
I will need to recuse myself from this vote and this process.
okay.
I filed a form.
Thank you.
Given that this is my first in-person recusal, I don't know where to go, and I'm not looking for any smart ideas. But
You can go in there, or you could go out in the hallway. It's been a while since we've been doing this. I'm used to turning the button on the thing off, and then you can,
so there's not like a trap door or anything?
no,
Good.
no trap doors.
I also have to recuse.
You do, okay. Okay, so we have 2 recusals. We are ready to interview our first candidate, which is Michael Brito. Mr. Brito, please come forward. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Please tell us a little about yourself and what you hope to bring to the Economic Development Committee.
Sure. So my name is Mike Brito. I'm new to Barrington. I moved to a new home off Selwyn.
Could you move a little closer to the mic so the people in the audience can hear you? Mr.
bet.
Brito? Thank you.
How's this? Better. My name again is Mike Brito. I'm new to town. I just moved to Barrington in February. On to a little road off Selwyn's there. I have a wife and 2 children. And I've lived in Rhode Island pretty much my entire life, with a short stint in Manhattan for work. And so I've always known about Barrington and heard and seen what a great town it is, how immaculate it is, and the great town functions and schools and everything. So it's been a pretty attractive place, I think, to me my whole life. And recently, when I had the opportunity to move again, we started looking pretty seriously at Barrington and bought our home. So since arriving in town, I have been meeting neighbors and, reaching out to various people in town, friends of friends, and gotten to know quite a few people, and was having some discussions with them about meeting more people and getting more involved in the town, and seeing what I could do to help the town, and what activities were going on that could help me get better integrated into the community. And one thing led to another. And I was sharing some of my experience, like my role that I currently have now as vice president of a sales team, and some of my experience teaching sales and marketing and entrepreneurship part-time at Columbia University. And the suggestion came up that I should look into the EDC as a way to contribute. And after doing some research and talking to other people in town about their ideas for improving the economic climate and some of the challenges associated with that, I thought, yeah, this might be a pretty good fit. So